I am so excited. It's been in the making for at least since 2014. That's what, 5, 6, 7 years. I have wanted to have my 12 Keys for Marriage Success course online for you so that you could do it on your own. Or you could take the videos and show them to a group. And guess what? It's here. I'm so excited. I know this has been like a dream of mine to be able to present this material that, yes, it's in a book and you can get the book, but not everybody reads a book these days. Many times we want to do things on our phone. We want to read it on our phone. We want to watch videos on our phone. We want to see the study guides on our phone. Or maybe you're on a computer. Maybe you're on a tablet. Or maybe you don't have access. You just don't like paper anymore. Or maybe you're in a group and you want to see a video. That's what's so exciting about this. It's taken me 7 years to get this video. This is the second edition of the book. The first book came out in 2014, and then the second edition came out just a couple years ago. And now we have the online course where you can do this all by yourself. Now, let me just ask you some questions here. Do you want to save your marriage? Is it falling apart? Have you been married a while and suddenly you don't love each other anymore? That often happens at about the 2 year point. Or maybe he's had an affair. I had a gal I talked to, that was the case. But yet she still loved him and he said he loved her. And so what were they going to do? Maybe it just seems like it's dry. Many gals tell me, Joyce, that the romance, the sex is just like out of here. And maybe you just want to keep your marriage healthy. I know I've used this book and this material for gals that were going to get married, that had been married for over 50 years, and everybody in between. Some that have been divorced and were going to get remarried, those that had just been newly married, and whatever their situation, they got information out of this. Why is this book so powerful? People have told me it has saved their marriages. It's not because I wrote it. It's because it's based on biblical principles and what we can do to put those principles alive in our lives. Every chapter is based on a principle, and there's scriptures throughout it. There's study questions throughout it in the book. But you can get all of that now in an online course. I've got good news for you. Even if your husband does not admit that you have a problem with your marriage, or he won't go see a marriage counselor, or you've been to a marriage counselor and it doesn't seem to have worked, your marriage can still be better. Good news is you can change your marriage with just you and God. Doesn't a marriage be two people? I mean, that's what you'd say to me. Doesn't it take two people to work on it? I go, yes. But God has an exciting truth for us. He said that when we do something to others, what we want them to do to them, they usually turn around and do it to us. That's Matthew 7:12. Look it up. Look it up for yourself. So here's the good news. You can create an atmosphere in your relationship with your husband that makes him want to change. There's lots of things that make him not want to change. Griping and grumbling, complaining is probably one of the biggest. And I've been guilty of that. You know, I had a really bad first marriage, and then I met actually the abusive marriage, and fidelity being just two people wasn't in his plan at all. And so when I met Aaron, I got divorced and met Aaron. Then he and I got saved shortly after we got married. And we wanted to know what the Bible said about marriage. So we started studying it. We didn't do it before we got married, like some people in premarital counseling. We did it after we got married because that's when we got saved. And that's why I've studied on marriage for so long, because I know how bad it can be. I know when you don't understand the principles in the Bible accurately and you're trying to live them out, you can do it all wrong. I did that. I grew up in the church and I had it all wrong. But when I studied the Bible and learned what God really said about marriage and what he wanted to supply, then I was able to help turn our marriage around. Yes, my husband was interested in it too, but I've seen it happen with gals over and over and over again where their husband had no interest. In fact, it's one of the more exciting things that happened is I was teaching this on a military base in a women's group, and one of the gals came up to me and she said, Joyce, I've been doing Bible studies for probably 10 or 15 years with this military women's group, and my husband has never asked me what I was studying. Now that I'm studying your book, he wants to know every week what we've been studying. Why? Because when we apply that biblical principle God empowers us then to live it out, and then our husbands see the change. Another thing you can do is go to 1 Peter chapter 3 and read in there. In some verses it says, we win our husbands not with our words, but with our actions. You know, you've heard it said over and over again, actions speak so much louder than words. And so that's what I want to show you, is how can you actually apply those biblical principles, actually do what it says. Yes, you can know it in your head, you can know it in your heart, but if you can't live it out, it's not coming through. It's kind of like going to church on Sunday and doing nothing the rest of the week. And so how do we actually live that? That's what I want to show you. There are other women that talk about this online. You might look some of them up. There's some great people out there that are talking about what a wife can do to create a wonderful marriage, but they're not putting in the biblical perspective. And I really think that is so key, to actually look at what the Bible says. I'm the practical Christian woman, and I firmly believe in the power of the Bible. I had one gal, though, that bought my book at one time, and she actually confessed to me she was a Buddhist. She says, well, this worked for me. I said, the principles are true, whether you believe where they come from or not. And it's the truth. They're true. I said, truth works. It's the truth. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. The Bible works. The Bible can help change your marriage. Now, let me tell you how, okay? Say two people are on the dance floor. They're going like this, okay? And one of them decides, oh, I'm thirsty. Maybe this is me. I decide I'm thirsty, and I need to go over here and go get a drink. Now, my husband's left out, standing out here in the middle of the dance floor. He can go hang out with these buddies. He could stand there in the middle of the dance floor. But most of the time, if he liked the girl he was dancing with, he'll come follow her over to the dance floor. Now, see, her initial change instigated or set the atmosphere for him to make a change. It happens over and over and over again. Here's what one gal from a Bible study says. I enjoyed sharing the moments when things clicked, and we started noticing when our changes started producing noticeable fruit. Yes, it does produce notable fruit. I had this book once in a bookstore in Central Texas, and the owner of it told me that someone came in and pointed at this book and said, that book saved my marriage. Well, is it the book? No, it was applying the principles in the book, God's principles, that saved her marriage. But it is powerful, and that's what's in this course. So in this 12 Keys for Marriage Success online course, where you as a wife can learn what you can do without spending tons of money on counseling, without having to talk with someone individually for coaching, which you can do that. I'm a life and marriage coach, and I love to talk with women. But you can do this too on your own at home. And you can fit it into your own time. You can do it when your husband doesn't know. You can watch it when the kids are in bed. You can do it when they're at school. You can do it whenever you want. I suppose you could even just turn it on and put it in your ear and listen to it as a podcast as you're driving down the road. I haven't done that technology myself, but since it's all, I know you can watch videos while you were driving down the road, so I'm sure, and we've turned off the video sometimes when we're getting good connection, just listen to it. You could do that with this too. So what will you do? You can learn the secrets to have fewer fights and more solutions with this course. You can know how to follow your husband's lead. Some people call that submission. But how to follow his lead and still be you. I was afraid I'd lose myself, but that's not what I'm teaching. I'm teaching how do you be yourself and follow his leadership. In every relationship, there has to be a leader. Otherwise, you're a two-headed monster and you're trying to go two different directions at the same time, and you can't do it. It breaks apart. I'll show you how you can recreate the fun and excitement and passion in your marriage. I just got through teaching this as an online course with me as the teacher and doing discussion groups. And one of the gals said that one of the things she loved, particularly in the last chapter called Light the Fire, was actually the steps of how to have a romantic evening at home. Didn't cost any money. Just she and her hubby. And she goes, it was actually laid out there for me step by step. That's what I want to do, is show you step by step how you can do these things. I want you to find the joy in the relationship, the joy in knowing you're doing what God wants you to do. To find peace, that it's not constantly fighting. One gal contacted me, she says, Joyce, we're just always yelling at each other. Someone else contacted me and said, I'm always yelling at the kids. I don't like myself. Well, you know what that does to her relationship with her husband when she's yelling at the kids even all the time, and he comes home and she doesn't like herself? Well, that's not very conducive to anything romantic when you don't like yourself. So talk about that. And how do we develop that passion again? That case, they've actually studied it, and that feeling in love, lovey-dovey feeling that we have when we first get married, or even before we get married on that honeymoon thing, actually comes across, and I can't get that out of the video, actually comes across and wears off at about the 6 month to year and a half to 2 year point. Yes, actually it is a hormone change. It's actually kind of like an addiction type of thing with some of the type of hormones. But it actually clouds your brain, and you don't see, you kind of look like this. You're looking through this rosy tinged glass. And when we get married in a biblical set by biblical principles, it's supposed to be for a lifetime, if at all possible. And we talk about that in the book. And how do you do that after that rosy tinged stuff is worn off? Because it does. But I've been married 42 years, gals, and I can tell you can still have an awesome marriage. I love my man. He's been my dream man. And God has so blessed us that I'm just so thankful to be able to share this with you. So, but you say, can I do that by myself? I know people who say, Joyce, and if you look online over and over and over again, most of the time, there's a couple women doing this, but most of the time it's men teaching on marriage. Well, I've sat in enough classes where men were teaching on marriage, and then I've been to things where the men taught some, and then the women taught some and I really relate so much better to the women because they see things from a woman's perspective. And yes, our perspective as a wife is different than what our husband sees. And even in the Bible, there's some different directions for wives, and there's some different directions for husbands. They aren't equally the same. Yes, we are equal before God, but our roles are not the same. That doesn't mean they aren't both equally important. It's just like you need 4 walls to hold up a building. But you need both people to make it work. And it's a teamwork effort. It's not all about him and it's not all about her. It's learning how to create a team. So let me tell you how this works. We talk about that with 2 people. One person makes a change to begin with and the other person starts. I'll put memes on Facebook or on other social media places. And I'll get this comment, but this takes 2 people. I'll say, do this for your husbands, but this takes 2 people, or it goes both ways. I say, yes, it does go both ways, but it has to start somewhere. And if you're always waiting on him to start, he may not start it. So why not take the initiative? Why not let that God empowerment empower you so that you can go start the ball rolling and get it changed? We start off with that in the very beginning of the book. I'll tell you about some of those chapters in a minute. But I can help you do this. I used to tell my husband how to eat his cereal, drive the car, and manage his time. I really did. How to eat his cereal, what kind of cereal he needed to eat, whether it needed to be thick or thin, his oatmeal, how to drive the car, turn here, there, don't go so fast, driving the car, and manage his time. You're just working too much. You're working too much. You got to not work at night. You got to not do this. You got to come home early. You're not here for dinner. Nah. But when I learned to focus on changing myself first, that's when the miracles began to happen. Yeah, they did. They did. And the man I loved enough to marry returned. He'd withdrawn as I kept trying to tell him how to do everything. Well, this man was a military officer for over 26 years, and he knew how to do things. He's a very intelligent man. He has a couple of master's degrees and all this kind of stuff. He's done all kinds of things throughout his life. And he's a very intelligent man. Of course, that doesn't mean I'm not an intelligent woman too. But it has to start with us. When we get saved and we come to accept Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, he takes us just as we are, and then he starts working on it. But he doesn't say, Joyce, your responsibility is to go out and change everybody else. He says, no, your responsibility is to tell them about the change I've done in you. We start with ourselves. My biggest problem, as you could tell, with trying to tell him how to eat cereal, drive the car, manage his time, was I was complaining and controlling. Maybe you're not. But I've had one gal came up to me and she says, My husband says I complain too much and he's ready to get a divorce and get out of the military. You know, a lot of guys get out of the military because their wives complain. I'm a retired military wife. I've been a military wife for years, actually over 30 years, and even before I met my husband, because my first husband was in the military too. That was the abusive marriage one, and the one that I had to get out of and that was a biblically sound reasons for getting out of that marriage. But you know, it might be some other job. A lot of guys are go on the road. A lot of you got your drivers on the road. I was talking with a gal whose husband was a regional director for a business, and he had to travel every day to each week to a different area to go work with them and work with them and work with them. Another gal, her husband worked up in the mines up in Alaska, and he was gone 3 weeks at a time, and then home for 10 days, and then gone again, home and back and forth. You know, this happens to a lot. Some gals' husbands are on the road. They're truck drivers, and they're gone, and they never quite know when they're going to be home. 1 week it may be one way, one time another day. Another gal whose husband works shifts in a manufacturing plant up in Dallas Fort Worth, and you know, sometimes when the machines break on the weekend, he has to be there. Somebody else was working. They were managing it in another company, and her husband wasn't. She never quite knew when he was going to have to work on the weekends, or they were building a new part of the plant, and he had to be there to supervise. So we can do this. It doesn't take our husbands to come with us. Here's some other things that people have said who have been in my marriage classes or taken this course. It's a real life portrayal of marriage. Open, honest, and focused on changing ourselves to improve our marriages. Believe me, it works. It absolutely does work. It's practical tips to improve our marriages with tremendous knowledge and life lessons. There's a lot of stories in there. When I first wrote the book, I left the stories out. One of the gals that was reading it and pre-editing it and knew me, she says, "Joyce, where are all the stories you tell when you talk?" And so they got back in the book. Another gal said, which after taking the course, she said, I like the wise advice given by a seasoned woman. That's a nice way of saying I'm an older woman. I'm seasoned. But if you look at Titus chapter 2, it tells the older women to teach the younger women how to love their husbands, love their children, and manage their homes. That doesn't mean women only are in the homes. If you look at, there's multiple women in the Bible that work outside the home or work from home, have jobs either in the home or outside the home. They're there. But you can stay home if that's your choice in funding. And maybe it's not. So I want you to take the leap of faith and do what you can do to change your marriage. Is it a leap of faith? Yes. And out of the hundreds of women I have coached and worked through and taught this book to and coached and taught it and had it all different kinds of ways, spoken it at workshops, retreats, I've only had 2 gals that it didn't work. And on both of them, they were very abusive situations, and the gals had to flee to save their lives. I know that's drastic, but what I'm saying is every other case, the marriages improved over and over and over again. It's proven. It works. When we change ourselves, we change somebody else. Even the re-engage class that they teach at our church, which is for couples, talks about standing up and then drawing a circle around yourself with your arms. This is the only person you can change. That's what I talk about. And so I talk about it from a woman's perspective. What do we as a wife do? So what are you going to get if you sign up for this course? You take it online. First off, you get 12 teaching videos. Each one is about 20 minutes, plus or minus a minute or two long, of me teaching on that principle. I'll show you how to create a marriage of love, and you'll get excellent teaching with all those tips and tools you need to be able to apply it. Then you'll get a study guide that has more tips, and plus then something you can do that week or that day to get instant success with good questions to help you apply it in your life. Because it's not just good to read a book if you can't apply it. I guess it would help sometime, but it's better when you can apply it. You'll have 24/7, that means all the time, access to the membership site where you'll be able to get all those resources. You can download the videos, you can download the study guides, you can print it all out. I'm still giving you permission to download these videos if you want and use them for a course if you want. That may eventually go away, so if you want that, do that now because that's there. Once you purchase the course, though, there's yours to work with. But you'll also get a bunch of resources besides those things and bonuses. You'll get the videos and the 12 study guides. They are yours there to do with and work with as you want. I hope you use them to save your marriage. So, but I got 3 great bonuses for you. One is you will get a PDF copy of this whole book. Okay, it's also available on Amazon. You can follow the link on my store page to get there. You can buy the book if you want to. If you want multiple copies for a group, please contact me. I do have a discount starting for 5 books, and the discount goes down, less and less money the more books you buy. But I do have that for you if you're going to teach a course or want to do it for a group. But you'll get a PDF copy of this book just for signing up for the course. You will also get a printable worksheet with 6 different tips that you can use to take the no nagging challenge. The challenge is, can you go 6 whole days without nagging your husband? Nagging is complaining, criticizing, or trying to control him, tell him what to do. I tell you that the thing after even 42 years that I'm still working on is not doing that. Every once in a while I get into it again. And I have to really watch that I don't do that. I let my husband be the man of God that he is. Now, your husband may not be a believer, but this works even if your husband is not a believer. Going through this material has actually encouraged people to work through the problems that they have and get married or get remarried or come back together and rededicate their vows to each other after an affair of one or the other. Plus, you'll get a video and the worksheet to take you through the steps of forgiveness. Some people have asked, Joyce, what's your biggest suggestion of how come your marriage lasted 42 years? Because we applied forgiveness. Remember, 2 people come together. Yes, we may or may not have both accepted the Lord, but we're human. And we will say things that at some point or another hurt the other person. We'll probably come out with a criticism. We'll probably at some point get angry. But we have to learn to forgive each other and not put one or another of us up on a pedestal because they are human. I remember one time my husband, we've been married probably a good 15 years or so by that point. And it maybe even a little more, but it might have been longer. But he said something one morning. I was on my way to Bible study, and right before I went out the door, he went out the door to work. He said something that really upset me. And I was driving into Bible study, and I was praying about it. I said, Lord, you know what my husband just said? God said, yes, I know. And he says, but all have sinned and gone short of the glory of God. That all includes your husband, and it includes you. You need to forgive him. That meant I didn't bring it up again, and I just turned it over to God and let God deal with it. The more I learned to become the woman God wanted me to be, the less those things happen. Does it still happen? Every once in a while. I'll put the link of how you can get this course in the comment section below. It's right on my website, which is joycezook.com. joycezook.com. That's my name. Joyce, the last letter of the alphabet, and then OOK, like a book. joycezook.com. And stuff it's called Marriage Success. It's also right there on the home page. You can click on the picture for it. So, some people ask me, okay, when does this start? Here's some frequently asked questions. When does this start? The first one. The minute you pay for the course, you get access to the materials. So it starts today if you want it to. You can pay for it and watch it on the weekends. You can pay for it and do it whenever you want. You can do it as fast as you want, or you can do it as slow as you want. It's for you to do at your own pace. So what are in those study guides? There's a summary of the chapter, questions to help you apply those principles in your relationship, and a marriage success tip for instant results. And I've included a prayer that you can pray or you can modify to ask God's help to create a marriage you love. That's my desire, is that with applying biblical principles, we can have marriages we love. I want to see people stop getting divorced. I want to see people just living in a marriage that has no love in it. I want to see people so that they like each other again and they love their lives. It's possible. We can do this. So how long will you have access to these videos? You'll have access to them for 1 year. If you think it's going to take you longer than a year, download them and keep them. How will you get your book? It will be sent to you in a downloadable PDF, and the instructions will be there for you to get that. It'll be in the instruction section that you'll get. Okay. So what do I know about a marriage? I mentioned a little bit about this because my people say, "Oh, your marriage seems so lovey-dovey. You guys just seem like you've been married, happy all the time." Well, my first marriage was full of adultery and abuse. I suffered in that relationship for over 5 years before my divorce. After the divorce was final, I met my husband, Aaron, and we've now been married for 42 years. We weren't Christians, as I mentioned before, when we got married, but I got saved in that first year, and then my husband gave his life to Christ 6 months later. Our goal, one of our goals as new believers, was to create a marriage that lasted a lifetime, based on biblical principles. And that's what this book contains. 12 keys for success comes from what we've learned over the years. That's what you'll have in your videos. That's what you'll have in the teaching, video teaching that you'll have every time. That's what's in your study guides. And what if you don't like the course? Can I get your money back? Yes, yes, yes. If you don't like the course, I have 100% money guarantee. Just send me an email, and I will send you back your money. I don't want you to have something you don't want. I mean, if you disagree with me, that's fine. That's between you and God. But I don't think you'll need that. I think you'll love it. I think you'll find something in there that applies to you and your marriage. Here's what one military wife said after taking the course. She said, "You have completely changed the way I thought about marriage and my role as a wife. Though my husband is deployed, he was deployed with the military, I've already experienced the change and blessings." She said, "And I'm thankful and grateful for this. You are an incredible mentor and teacher, and I thank God for bringing you into my life. I want to come into your life and do the same thing for you. I want to help you create a better, blessed marriage, to feel the changes and the blessings that come in your marriage." So some people ask, "So Joyce, what are those 12 keys?" Let me go through them quickly. Number one, stick like glue. That means we're going to try to figure out how to stay married for a lifetime. 2, think like a couple. 3, let God direct your marriage. 4, give your best to your husband. That means you got to take some self-care in there. Self-care is not a sin. Give your best to your husband. Respect your man. It's one of the things the Bible tells us to do, is to respect him. And so I go through, what does that mean to respect him? To save time for him. Sometimes we get so busy we have no time. Number 7, no nagging. Do all things without grumbling and complaining. That includes nagging. Should be nagging in there for wives. Number 8, admire your hunk. Yes, he might be not looking like he did when you first got married, but by golly, gals, I didn't have gray hair when I was 25. I didn't have wrinkles when I was 25. I wasn't wearing glasses when I was 25. I didn't have spots on my hands when I was 25 when I first got married. But I still love my husband. He doesn't look like he did either, but he's an awesome man. And so we talk about, how do we admire our husband? Key number 9 is do it his way. How do you follow the God-given role of leadership that our husbands have been given by God? What do we do with that? How do we follow that? How do we still stay us while we follow their lead? And then key 10 is talk, talk, talk. I tell you several different ways how you can develop that regular talking time and how you can solve problems, different ways of having creative discussions instead of yelling and fighting arguments that go nowhere, except make everybody mad, not want to be around each other. Then key 11 is we talk about date your mate. That lets you bring that romance back into your relationship. No, it doesn't always cost money. There's lots of ways to have fun dates without it costing money. And even when we had a year of a pandemic where we couldn't go out most of the time, there's still ways to have fun dates at home. And key 12 is light the fire. How do we get that passionate excitement about sex and romance in our marriage again? Well, many people tell me they want to start at the light the fire part. They want to start there. But I can tell you it builds. As you apply each of the other keys, sex becomes a natural part of marriage. One of the quotes in the Bible you'll see talks about, not in the Bible, but in my book, not from the Bible, talks about a couple who did the study, and they said that if sex is a problem in your marriage, it's probably 80% of the problem. It's all you're thinking about. But when sex is going well, it's only about 10% of the problem. How do we get it going well? By doing all the other things that God asks us to do. So I want you to start today to create a marriage you want. It is possible working on it by yourself. Why? Because your husband will know what you're doing, and he'll want to get involved. Believe me, it happens over and over again. Be surprised. Some gals will change it and say, he came home and said, "What are you doing differently?" I mean, or they could suddenly talk, or they could talk about a budget, or they could figure out she figured out how to, he didn't like the word date, so she figured out how to have special things to do. She could use the word date. But you can do this. I'll put the link in the bottom, or go to my website, joycezook.com, and you can sign up there. You'll see all the details again there. You'll see how to click on it, where the button you can click to pay. But if you've got questions, send me questions. I'd love to answer them, and be able to help you see how this could help you. Remember, it is also available for small groups. I do have a leader's guide coming out soon. If you're interested in that, please contact me, and I'll get you that right away. We're still working on a few refinements for that, but it will be done real soon. And so that you can teach it to other people. I thank you so much for listening to this. I am so excited to have this course available for you to do online by yourself in your own home at your own time. I pray that God will richly bless you, and that he will bless your marriage, and he will bless your efforts as you learn to become the woman and wife that God wants you to be. And then watch him work. You know, God's capable of doing miraculous things in our marriages. And when we start to change, it becomes a snowball effect, and you will see a glorious and beautiful transformation. It has happened over and over again. It's not just one or two people. It can happen for you. Check it out today. God bless you. This is Joyce Zook, the practical Christian woman, helping you love your life and your marriage. God bless you.